Let's go. Duress. Remember, we emphasize on the fact that one key element of a valid contract is that the contract must be entered into willfully without force. In other words, for a contract to be valid in the court, the parties to the contract must have entered into the contract willfully on their own accord. They've read the documents, they've heard everything, and they entered into the contract. But then sometimes, if a party enters into a contract, but a party can prove that the contract he entered into was actually a duress or an undue influence, then the contract will be considered as what? Invalid. So when we say duress, what does that mean? It is based on threats of physical violence, to coerce, to force someone to enter into a contract. Now, what happens is that for you to prove that yes, this is what is going on, the injured party or the victim, so NB, the modern doctrine requires that, the modern doctrine, because you cannot just go to the court and say I was forced. So modern doctrine requires that the victim be subjected to pressure amounting to compulsion of will, amounting to compulsion of the will, and that the pressure was illegitimate. So physically you are being threatened. Now, to confirm if really you are duressed, then there are a couple of questions that we need to ask. If we can say that, okay, it's a compulsion of the will of the person, then before we can establish, because you don't just go to court and say, hey, he forced me to sign into the contract. No, there are certain questions we need to ask ourselves. Number one is, so key questions to validate duress. One, did the victim protest? Did you beg for your life? Oh please, I cannot do this. You're gonna kill me. Did you protest? Did you try to fight back? That's the first thing. Did you protest? If you didn't protest and they say it's no, you go and do it, that means you entered into it willingly. Now, somebody will say, okay, you have been threatened, then you protest, then they will kill you. No, but at least we want to see, because something that is against your will, you don't do it at a go, like on a silver platter like that. Definitely, there should be some element of what? Protest. That's the first thing. Did the victim protest? Two, was there an alternative route available for the victim? Was there an alternative route or option available to the victim? That's the second question. Now, if you protested, could you have done something else? Maybe run away, report to the police station? Under that circumstance, is there any alternative option available for you? Was there? If there was none, then really you were forced. But if you had other options, why the heck did you allow yourself to be forced into signing a contract you don't want to sign? That's the second thing. Then, third, was the victim independently advised? So did someone advise the victim on the decision that he or she was making? This is what you need to understand in relation to that. So duress renders a contract voidable. It means the contract is valid, only that there is that element of willfulness that is not in it. But unless otherwise you can prove that you were forced, the court will still rule in the favor of the other party who supposedly, allegedly forced you into signing the contract. So duress makes the contract voidable, meaning the contract is valid but lacks some technical elements to make it enforceable in the court at the end of the day. So if you take it to court, you have to prove I was pressured. You have to prove I had no other option. You have to prove that I was advised by somebody that is the only option I have available. If you can prove, then the court will do WASM for you and be with on your side. But if you cannot prove that you didn't protest, you cannot prove that, oh, you had alternative routes and you decided not to exercise them, then definitely you can't do anything about it. That is the idea about duress. Then undue influence. Undue influence. Now, undue influence, it's simply where there is, it's also a form of force, but then it could be indirectly, it could be a conflict of interest that is coming in a case. So let's say that, for instance, a loan is being secured by a person who is not in a commercial arrangement with the debtor, and then the lender is put on notice, but that undue influence may be the lender is put on notice. So what does that mean? Let's say that, like I mentioned, A and B are there. Then A wants a loan from a bank, but then B has no relationship of that particular thing that is going on. And for instance, A goes for the loan and had used B as a guarantor for the loan. Now remember, B has no relationship with the loan company A, so he is not supposed to enter into the contract. But then the loan company will say that, oh, we thought the person informed you about it, and I actually faced an issue like that. Somebody used my name as a guarantor for a loan. I was there, I got an email as tell the people, otherwise we will take legal action. And I was like, what the heck? Borrowed money with me, guarantor, you will take legal action. Legal action there. And like, I was furious. So I sent a message to the person who supposedly used my name, and like, it has ended our relationship. Like, that's it. I sent a message to the person. The person has been trying to call me. I just told him, make sure you pay the money. That's all. Because if you can use my name because you have my name and you have my details, that doesn't mean you can just go and fill a form somewhere. And the bank or some of these lending companies, how can you give a loan to somebody when the guarantor hadn't signed anything? Then you are sending me a message. Later on, they call me and said that, oh, it's not that they will take me to court. They will take the person to court, but they are just informing me to tell the person so that the person will pay the money on time, so they don't have to take the person to court. I said, what do I care? So that is an issue about undue influence. So you realize that I am entering into contracts with them without any direct force, without any direct relationship. So that is the concept about undue influence. So it refers to a circumstance where a party enters into contract not willingly or willfully, due to an action or a perceived relationship Now, the solution available here under this will be definitely recession. You just let it go, because I mean, whatever has entered has entered. You can sue the person who is doing this against you. It's an indirect force that you are having. You can sue the person who is doing this against you. That is the idea about undue influence. Then the last one is illegality. Now, this is where the subject matter of the contract is what? Illegal. So if the subject matter of the contract itself is illegal, that means that it cannot be entered into, or it cannot be enforced in the law courts. Now, there are public policies that dictate what should be legal and what should be illegal. In other words, any contract, so any contract tending to be one, corruption in public life, 2, promoting sexual immorality, 3, prejudicial to the administration of justice, trading with an enemy in wartime. These are all referred to as illegal transactions. So like the way Afghanistan is turmoiling like that, then you go and do any business and they don't like the Russians, they don't like the Americans, the Taliban people, they don't like any of these people. Then you go and enter into contract with any of that company, and something happens at the end of the day and you want to exercise a law, or that foreign company is in Afghanistan, for instance, and you are taking the company to court. In such circumstances, all foreign companies who are at war, or who they are at war with, they see them as what? Enemies. Here, there is no solution available. Either you keep quiet, or when you go to court, both of you will be jailed because the subject matter is illegal. So you keep quiet and say, hey, Charlie. Or maybe, so like for instance, at this point here, there's an issue in court, then you go and see the judge, and you give the judge goods, or you give the judge some stack of cash. And the judge came, and the judge gave the judgment, and it didn't go to your favor. What the heck? Then you just have to send some people to visit the judge so that you take him out. Because you can't take the judge to court. You can't take the judge to court. Like, because the subject matter, it's illegal. These are what refers to as vitiating factors. When these factors are present in a contract, they cripple the contract and they invalidate the contract, and the contract cannot be enforceable in the law court.